watching 5 Live. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Israeli army, the Golani Brigade, the elite Golani Brigade of the Israeli army is inside the parliament building in Gaza. It's a major victory for Israel, but is this victory only symbolic? Because Hamas terrorists are still active across Gaza. And we'll tell you much more about that during the course of the broadcast. It's a big turning point in Israel's war on Hamas terror. Israeli Defense Forces claim Hamas has lost control of the Gaza Strip that it ruled with an iron hand for 16 long years. Israel has called it an extraordinary achievement. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, this isn't an operation, but it's a war that Israel will fight to the finish. So is it endgame Hamas in just 5 weeks of operations so far?
Israeli forces inside what's called the Hamas parliamentary building in Gaza, seen waving Israeli flags. This as the Israeli leadership shared its own assessment of the war against Hamas.
An extraordinary achievement, truly amazing. There are no words. I think that what you have done here, you simply decided the battle here. Men and women soldiers, with daring and extraordinary resourcefulness. Well done. This says a lot. To turn the tide from the worst situation imaginable. This says a lot. This is also what we are doing now with the forces that are inside. This is neither an operation nor a round, but a war to the end.
Israel calls it a war to the end and insists that Hamas has lost control of the Gaza Strip, a territory it practically ruled for 16 years. According to Israeli military, the war that started on October 7th with Hamas's brazen attack on Israeli territory is reaching its logical conclusion. Meanwhile, the military wing of Hamas announced that it is prepared to release around 70 women and children currently held in Gaza, an offer contingent on the condition of a 5-day of complete ceasefire and unhindered passage of humanitarian aid to Gaza. Around 1,200 people died and 240 were taken hostages in Hamas's unprecedented assault on Israel last month. The fierce Israeli retaliation left more than 11,000 killed in Gaza, including 4,630 children, according to the Gaza Media Office. 2/3 of the enclave population displaced because of the Israeli military campaign. Israel demands that all of the hostages captured by Hamas during its October 7th attacks are returned in order to consider a ceasefire. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me live is Elion Levy, a spokesperson for Israeli government and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Levy, is Israel now in control of the Gaza Strip? Is Hamas no longer in control of Gaza Strip?
Well, Hamas has definitely lost control of the Gaza Strip. This terror organization that has oppressed the people of Gaza for the last 16 years is now fighting for its life as we come after every single terrorist who was involved in the October 7th massacre. Our plans are moving ahead. We've encircled Gaza City. We've moved in. We're advancing on its main headquarters. And we're continuing with our goal to topple Hamas and totally destroy its terror machine in response to that massacre on October 7th, when they brutally murdered, executed, beheaded, burned, raped, tortured, mutilated 1,200 of our people. And as you mentioned, took 240 people, including children, including babies, hostage into the Gaza Strip.
The Golani Brigade, the elite soldiers of the Golani Brigade inside the Legislative Assembly, is that victory only symbolic? Because even today, Hamas continues to target Israel. There were rocket sirens and attacks, I believe, on Ashkelon in Tel Aviv even today.
That is definitely an iconic image. We are coming not only to dismantle Hamas's terror infrastructure, but also to remove it from power. For 16 years, it has been terrorizing the people of Israel with tens of thousands of rockets. It's been oppressing the people of Gaza diverting humanitarian aid to build their tunnels, to build their weapons, and we are bringing that reign of terror to an end. But I should emphasize, Israel does not want to reoccupy Gaza. We do not want to control Gaza. What we want is to create a reality that will bring security for the people of Israel and make sure Hamas can no longer pose a threat to us. But certainly, definitely a powerful image that shows just what a serious blow Hamas has taken after its decision to launch that atrocious massacre on October 7th.
That attack was atrocious. The massacre of 1,200 plus people, 240 taken hostage, that was truly atrocious. But many are saying that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza Strip. So to kill a few thousand Hamas fighters and leaders who may be in Qatar or elsewhere, thousands are being massacred in the Gaza Strip, including women, the elderly and children.
No, I'm sorry. It's important to set the record straight. On October 7th, Hamas committed an act of genocide against the Israeli people. It invaded with death squads, intending to murder as many people as they could, and they executed them in the most brutal way imaginable. This was a campaign of systematic extermination by a terrorist group that openly vows that it wants to murder all the Jews. That is Hamas. It is a genocidal terror organization, and we are fighting it so that it cannot attack our people again and cannot commit another act of genocide against the Jewish people. Now, in order to do that, we are targeting Hamas. We are targeting the monsters who perpetrated October 7th. And we're doing everything we can to get civilians out of harm's way inside the Gaza Strip. That's why for a month now we've been urging them to evacuate south for their safety. It's why for a week now we've been putting in place humanitarian corridors to enable people to leave the danger zone in northern Gaza. It's why our own soldiers have been putting their lives at risk to secure Palestinian civilians so they can evacuate. The problem is that Hamas has a deliberate strategy of human shields. People don't understand how sick and twisted Hamas's strategy is. Hamas has spent 16 years embedding itself underneath schools, underneath hospitals, underneath homes, underneath mosques, because Hamas wants people to die.
Sir,
Hamas leaders
if you want to kill
openly,
Hamas,
they want to martyr and sacrifice their people, and that is a strategy.
Non-combatants who are being killed in this combat. And Israel is being accused, if you permit me, sir, Israel is being accused of starving Gazans, not giving them water, not giving them food, not letting medicines and fuel get across, Mr. Levy.
I'm sorry, these are obscene accusations by people who clearly cannot open and read a newspaper. Israel has 2 water lines that are supplying water into the Gaza Strip. Hamas is firing mortars that are hitting our water pipelines. We're fixing them underwater, and we're continuing to supply water into enemy-controlled territory. The Gaza Strip is receiving humanitarian aid through the Rafah border crossing with Egypt. It's receiving food, it's receiving medicines, and there is already food in the Gaza Strip, and there is no immediate shortage at the moment. The problem is that Hamas is deliberately manufacturing a humanitarian emergency because it knows that images of humanitarian suffering will put pressure on Israel to stop its attacks intended to destroy Hamas. And we hold Hamas fully responsible for all the humanitarian suffering in the Gaza Strip as a result of its decision to declare war on us with the October 7th massacre and its decision to fight that war like cowards from inside densely populated areas, despite our best efforts, putting our own soldiers' lives at risk in order to facilitate safe passage for Palestinians in the northern Gaza Strip out of harm's way, because this is not a war against the Palestinians, it is not a war against Gaza, it is a war against the monsters from Hamas who perpetrated the October 7th massacre, and it is the monsters from Hamas we will destroy.
Will your bombing continue the way it has for the past 40 days? Because there are some who say, 1, there should be a ceasefire or a pause. There are others who say, including quoting Hamas interlocutors, saying if there is a pause, at least some hostages could be released.
We will not accept any end to the fighting that leaves our hostages in Gaza and Hamas in power. We are going for complete victory because we will not leave Hamas with the capabilities to perpetrate another October 7th massacre. That will not happen. The October 7th massacre was the straw that broke the back of a very strong camel. Now, will we consider a small pause in order to get our hostages out of the Gaza Strip? If there is a serious option on the table, a serious proposal, we will, of course, consider it. But this war will end with Hamas removed from power. This war will not leave the baby burning, baby beheading, baby abducting terrorists from October 7th in power in the Gaza Strip, free to attack our people again. We will end its reign of terror.
Mr. Levy, can you give us a roadmap? How long will your operations continue now that Israeli forces are in control of Gaza City and the parliament building? How long will your operations continue? Will the Israeli forces move all the way down to the Rafah border?
This war will last as long as it takes. Not a day more, not a day less. I wish I could tell you that this would be over tomorrow, and it would be if Hamas emerged from its terror headquarters underneath the Shifa hospital, waving a white flag and surrendered. But since it seems that Hamas is determined to fight to the very last man, we will fight them. They declared war on us, and we're going to win that war. It's going to be long. It's going to be difficult. None of us want to be in this situation. We have 350,000 people in reserves, pulled away from their families, pulled away from their jobs so they can go and fight. Obviously, we want them home. Obviously, we want to go back to our lives and rebuild this country. But that job of rebuilding this country will happen after we destroy Hamas, however long it takes.
What does victory mean for you in tangible terms? How will you declare, what is victory for you?
The total destruction of Hamas's governing and military capabilities inside the Gaza Strip. Victory will mean that the Gaza Strip can never again pose a security threat to Israel. You know, a decade ago, when ISIS captured territory in Syria and Iraq, 86 nations came together to wipe out ISIS and to take away its territorial control because they realized that such an evil terrorist organization can never be allowed to hold territory from which to attack innocent people around the world. And just as the world defeated ISIS, we are going to destroy Hamas. The only difference is this is, of course, much closer to home. Unlike the US or the UK flying half the way around the world to fight ISIS, this is literally our backyard. We have soldiers in the Gaza Strip, and if they do not stop that Hamas terrorist right now from shooting that rocket, he will shoot that rocket and hit that soldier's home just a few miles away. So we're going to wipe out Hamas like the world wiped out ISIS. We will bring to an end its reign of terror inside the Gaza Strip.
Does that mean destroy every tunnel, go underneath that Al-Shifa hospital, destroy that command and control structure, wipe out every fighter? That could take forever. It took 8 months to a year to wipe out ISIS from Mosul and Raqqa.
That is exactly what it means, yes.
So 8 months to a year, is that the time frame you're giving for this? That continuous pounding will continue for 8 months to a year?
I'm not going to speculate on a time frame. You proposed that time frame. We haven't set deadlines, we've set targets. That target is the total defeat of Hamas, its total destruction, and that fight will continue as long as it takes, because we will not go back to 6 a.m. on October 7th. We will not go back to a world in which Hamas can decide whenever it wants to invade Israeli villages on the border, burn whole families alive in their homes, torture children in front of their parents, parents in front of their children, abduct babies into the Gaza Strip. That will never happen again. And we will do whatever it takes. And it will take however long it takes.
Of the 300,000 people who've taken to the streets, whether in the United Kingdom or protests that are happening elsewhere, or even in countries like the United States of America, where people are removing posters of those children who've been abducted, is global opinion changing? Do they see Israel as the perpetrator and not Hamas? I mean, many are calling Hamas as freedom fighters.
We are horrified and nauseated by the pro-jihad protests around the world. You know, this conflict has really given the world a moment of moral clarity. Are you for humanity or are you for barbarism? Are you for civilization or are you for savagery? And the people who are taking to the streets, calling on Israel to abandon its hostages in the Gaza Strip, calling on Israel to leave Hamas in power so it can perpetrate another October 7th massacre, are taking the side of the terror organization that on October 7th beheaded babies, burned babies, abducted babies, and I have no words for our contempt for the people who are serving as apologists for the pedophile rapists of Hamas and the atrocities they committed on October 7th. Our message to anyone taking part in protests around the world, taking the side of Hamas, is you should be ashamed with yourself.
There are people like, Rashida Tlaib in the United States who say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is not a genocidal call to wipe out Jews and Israelis.
Of course it is, because between the river and the sea is the state of Israel. People who are calling from the river to the sea are calling for the demolition, the destruction, the erasure of the state of Israel. They're saying that this amazing, wonderful, democratic country that we have built here shouldn't exist. And who's going to run it? Hamas? That is your vision of liberation? The people who on October 7th perpetrated that horrific massacre? We're fighting for our survival. We're fighting for the survival of our wonderful democratic state. And the people who are chanting from the river to the sea are calling for the destruction of a UN member state. And they too should hang their heads in shame.
I also want to ask you, how does Israel view Suella Braverman being removed as Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, especially at a time when she said that these were hate marchers and the Metropolitan Police were behaving in a partisan manner?
We have no comment on domestic politics in other countries.
But does that point towards victory of radical elements, as some see?
I'm not going to give you a comment on the UK Cabinet Reshuffle. That is a domestic political matter for the UK, which is, of course, an extremely close ally and friend of Israel that has made its support for our right to defend ourselves and to defeat Hamas a very top priority.
Fair enough. And how do you see this battle pan out from this point? Now that you're in Gaza City, we saw General Hagari, going inside that Rantisi hospital and bringing out details. Al-Shifa next?
Well, we are moving through the Gaza Strip and we are exposing evidence of Hamas's war crimes. Our troops have discovered tunnel shafts underneath children's beds. They found rocket launchers next to children's swimming pools and amusement parks. They found cables for rocket launchers that lead into mosques and into clinics. We are exposing how the Gaza Strip has been systematically subjugated and oppressed by Hamas for the last 16 years, which instead of building a positive future for the Palestinian people, has used it to wage war and jihad and terrorism against the people of Israel. Now, of course, the situation around the hospitals that sit on top of Hamas's headquarters is very dangerous and very sensitive. It is outrageous, and the world should be outraged that Hamas has built its terrorist headquarters in the basement underneath the hospital. You know, Hamas's whole strategy is based on human shields. Hamas's whole strategy is based on putting civilians on top of its terrorists because they know that that will stop Israel from attacking the terrorists underground. It's sick. It's disgusting. And we're doing everything we can to peel away Hamas's layers of human shields. We found people that Hamas is holding hostage, Palestinians. They're keeping them as human shields in hospitals. And we're killing those terrorists so that we can evacuate the innocent Palestinian civilians to safety so that Hamas cannot use them as human shields. And we expect the whole world, by the way, to join the European Union in a very clear condemnation of Hamas's strategy of using hospitals as human shields. It's sick, it's disgusting, it goes against international law, and it must end immediately.
And are you disappointed 40 days into this conflict, you haven't been able to retrieve your hostages so far, 239 of them? Is that the reason that your operations are stalled, as some would argue?
Israeli society is, of course, sick with worry for the fate of the hostages. These are innocent people who were ripped out of their beds, and now they're being held inside a tunnel by terrorists with ski masks and Kalashnikov rifles. You know, there's a baby in there who was 9 months old when this war started. He's now 10 months old. There are children in there who are orphaned, because Hamas murdered their parents in front of them, ripped them out of their arms, and are now holding 3-year-old children, even younger, inside a tunnel in the Gaza Strip. You know, every time I go on air and I talk about the hostage crisis, I don't think I'm able to convey just how awful, just how terrible this reality is that Hamas is holding babies, for goodness sake, hostages inside the Gaza Strip. And I don't think that there's a single viewer right now who, if babies in India had been abducted by LET or by ISIS and were being held hostage, wouldn't expect their government to go to the ends of the earth and to do everything possible to bring them home. And so we're ramping up military pressure on Hamas. We're turning up the heat on Hamas and telling it, you had better give us back our hostages now, immediately and unconditionally, and we will make you pay.
Elion Levy, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. So very clearly, The Israeli government really wants to go after these Hamas terrorists and get their children, their hostages, back home and safe. Ilion Levy, many thanks.
Thank you.
The war is escalating, and I want to get you those images of the hospital. Amidst this escalating war between Israel and Hamas, the Israeli Defense Forces have released a video to expose the tactics of Hamas. And this video shows the tunnels that exist and go into Gaza's Rantisi Hospital. A network of tunnels where Israeli hostages, incidentally, were also kept underneath that hospital in the basement, according to Israeli army. We bring you this report.
Under fire for targeting hospitals in Gaza, the Israeli Defense Forces have released a video that exposes Hamas. The 6-minute-long video shows an alleged Hamas tunnel which exits into Rantisi Hospital in Gaza.
You can see the tunnel. The tunnel is let down more than 20 meters down. The robot found a door that is bulletproof. It's explosives proof. So it looks like a hard evidence, a clear evidence that the hospital direction is connected. We're now entering into the area of the hospital where we had found the evidence. It's a baby bottle in a basement above a World Health Organization sign. This is a suspicion for an area where hostages were being held.
Israel claims Hamas is using hospitals to carry out attacks on Israel.
Underneath the hospital, in the basement, we found a Hamas command and control center, suicide bomb vests, grenades, AK-47 assault rifles, explosives devices, RPGs and other weapons, computers, money, etc.
The IDF has positioned tanks outside Gaza City's main medical center, Al-Shifa Hospital. Israel says there is a tunnel network near the hospital that shelters Hamas fighters who are using patients as shields. Gaza's health ministry, which is run by Hamas, has claimed that 32 hostages have died in the last 3 days. The US and UK have cautioned Israel against attacks on hospitals.
I have not been reluctant in expressing my concerns what's going on. Less intrusive action relative to the hospital. We're in contact and we're with the Israelis. Also, there is an effort to take this pause to deal with the release of prisoners.
I've doubled our aid to Gaza and why we continue to press, both at the United Nations and directly with Israel, for unhindered humanitarian access and urgent and substantive humanitarian pauses.
Since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war, Israel has targeted multiple hospitals in Gaza, sparking widespread criticism across the world. Bureau Report, India Today.
And two of India's finest war reporters, most experienced war reporters, now join me on this special broadcast. I want to bring into this conversation India Today's Shiv Arur. I also want to bring into this conversation Rajesh Pawar, joining us live from Israel. And Rajesh, Israeli army, the elite Golani Brigade soldiers inside Gaza's Legislative Assembly building. Is this symbolic or is this substantive?
Look, Gaurav, this shows that now IDF is in almost total control of northern Gaza Strip. But now what is interesting is the battle has moved from the ground to the information arena. You know, now we are seeing that continuously IDF is showing tunnel network under the hospitals, under civilian areas, where the hostages were kept underground. Somehow Israel seems to be losing this war in the information sphere because people have forgotten the atrocities committed by Hamas on 7th of October, and now the entire focus has shifted on the misery, on the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding in Hamas, in Gaza Strip because of the bombings of IDF. And also, now we see these tunnels and all, they're not making much effect. There's pressure from America, there's pressure from UK, and there's pressure from around the world on Israel now to allow humanitarian aid and to allow some kind of ceasefire. And we are seeing that happening in Gaza right now. Gaurav.
Stay with me for a moment. Let me also bring in Shiv into this conversation. Shiv, the significance of the tunnels and the hostages being kept under the Rantisi Hospital, the fact that there was a command and control sector, center there, because in a hospital, Shiv, you'd expect them to have syringes and medicines, not RPGs and grenades, Shiv.
Well, Gaurav, this operation, under the Rantisi Hospital is only the latest IDF demonstration from their side, of what they've been claiming all along, that this infrastructure that the Hamas has built to support its terror operations is embedded very well within, civilian institutions and neighborhoods. In this case, the Rantisi Hospital, just as it was the case with the Al-Shifa Hospital and before that with the Al-Arbi Hospital in North Gaza. In this particular demonstration, you actually have an IDF, soldier walking through parts of the Rantisi Hospital, including the subterranean zones, the places, below the surface, the part of the tunnel network that has been built by the Hamas with Iranian help, where you see electricity, you see, there's no shortage of resources down there. You've got ammunition, you've got bulletproof jackets, you've got a command and control center. All of this coming in the wake of a series of disclosures from the IDF side of, grenades and RPGs and other weapons found inside a kindergarten school. We saw an amusement park in central Gaza, which had been surrounded by rocket positions as well. The Rantisi Hospital now becomes a focal point well over a month into the operations inside the Gaza Strip. Now, you've seen the defense minister of Israel claim that the Hamas is no longer in power, that the people of Gaza have rejected Hamas, they're looting Hamas positions as well. But all of this, remember, still revolves around the outstanding hostage crisis. The Hamas has made some kind of an offer saying 5 days of truce in exchange for 70 hostages. We don't know if that's being taken seriously or that's being negotiated at any level, but it's clear that the diplomatic machinery is working at one level via Qatar, etc. But on the ground, the IDF is very, very focused, very, very determined to not only destroy the Hamas, but at every step expose what it has been saying all along.
Shiv and Rajesh are tracking the story very, very closely. For the moment, gentlemen, for joining me here on India Today, many thanks. I now want to shift focus and show you the ground reality from the Palestinian side. With very little access to food, water, medicines and electricity, people along the Gaza Strip are suffering their worst humanitarian crisis. Concerns about attacks on hospitals have magnified their fears. Even the threat of a minor attack or a minor damage can have massive life or death implications for patients and caregivers. We bring you more in this report.
Exposed to unceasing airstrikes, shortage of fuel, water and power supplies. People in Gaza are suffering their worst crisis ever, with major hospitals, including the enclave's largest medical center, Al-Shifa Hospital, under attack and out of service. Gaza's health sector is in a state of complete collapse.
The displacement that's happened to the Palestinian people, it's been in our memories for a long time. And today the displacement is taking place on a big level, bigger than 1948. I was in the Al-Shifa Hospital. It was impossible for me to think that one day it might be hit. Al-Shifa Hospital is protected in every sense. Today I could have been martyred, and some of my family could have been martyred. The situation has become really bad.
At Al-Shifa, dozens of babies requiring intensive care are at grave risk after the incubators shut off due to lack of electricity.
At night we were sheltering in God's safety in Al-Shifa, a safe area. The maternity ward was shelled and I was scared for my family, the young ones. You can see the elderly. There were a lot of strikes, shells and bombs, even next to the Al-Shifa. Al-Shifa is a dangerous place.
Doctors at the hospitals claim that they only have enough time to attend on half the admitted patients and that the hospital has run out of blood for transfusions.
Another totally exhausting day. Ward round this morning, saw half the patients because we don't have time to see all of them.
Clashes between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants in Gaza have prompted thousands of people to flee from the sprawling medical facility. The Israeli military said it is coordinating the transfer of incubators into Gaza in a possible measure to enable the evacuation of newborn babies from the hospital. On the other hand, the military wing of Palestinian terrorist group Hamas informed that they are prepared to release around 70 hostages. But there should be a complete ceasefire and relief must be allowed everywhere in the Gaza Strip. With no deal in place, the humanitarian disaster in Gaza is worsening. Bureau Report, India Today.
So Israel insists it will ramp up operations against Hamas. The situation on ground, Hamas has lost control of North Gaza to a very large extent. Gaza City, in fact, Hamas Headquarters, Hamas offices are being looted right now, even as we speak, by Palestinians. They're taking whatever they can. They're now moving towards the south wherever they can. But according to the Israeli Defense Forces, Hamas terrorists continue to fire at the Palestinians. They want to continue to hold them as a human shield. Will there be a negotiation? You heard Elion Levy, a spokesperson for the Israeli government, who insists operations will be ramped up if there is serious negotiation. Remember, the Mossad chief and the former chief of Mossad, Israel's intelligence agencies, they've both traveled to Qatar to talk to interlocutors, to talk to the Qatari government and administration, and then ensure that all hostages are released immediately, and not just this offer of releasing 70 women and children to stop operations. In the last leg of campaigning in Madhya Pradesh, both the Congress and the BJP have gone out against each other. No holds barred. The BJP's big guns are booming in the state of war, Madhya Pradesh. From Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Union Home Minister Amit Shah to the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, the BJP top guns have targeted the Congress party leadership. A day after mocking Rahul Gandhi for promising to produce gold out of potatoes, the Prime Minister hurled another barb at the Congress party MP from Wayanad in Kerala, calling him Murkho ka Sardar. Rahul Gandhi too hit back, accusing the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government of taking 50% commission and also asking why was there inaction in the Vyapam scam.
उज्जैन में जितने विकास के काम हमने किए महाकाल महाराज की कृपा से, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने किए, बताओ कभी कांग्रेस ने किए थे क्या? कभी किसी सरकार ने खाते में पैसा डाला था क्या? ये कोई मुख्यमंत्री ने नहीं डाला। ये तुम्हारा भाई, जिसका दिल हमेशा इस दर्द से भरा रहता था कि मेरी बहनों का अपना खाता होना चाहिए और उस खाते में हर महीने पैसा आने चाहिए ताकि वो पूरे सम्मान के साथ अपनी जिंदगी गुजारे।
बड़े अच्छे कलाकार हैं शिवराज जी, कुछ दिनों में बेरोजगार नहीं होंगे, ये याद रखिएगा। क्यों? इनको बम्बई भेजेंगे, कलाकार हैं ये, एक्टिंग करें, बाहर जाके एक्टिंग करें, मध्य प्रदेश का नाम रोशन करें, हम आपको टीवी में देंगे।
एक महाज्ञानी कांग्रेस के कह रहे थे कि आप सबके पास मेड इन चाइना मोबाइल फोन होता है। अरे मूर्खों के सरदार, किस दुनिया में रहते हैं ये लोग? कांग्रेस के नेताओं को अपने देश की उपलब्धियां न देखने की मानसिक बीमारी हो गई है।
भाइयों और बहनों, तोमर जी के बेटे पर नरेंद्र मोदी ने कार्रवाई की, सीबीआई लगाई, ईडी लगाई, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट लगाया। यहां पे 50% कमीशन सरकार चल रही है। महाकाल कॉरिडोर में चोरी की, व्यापम में 1 करोड़ युवाओं को नुकसान किया, 40 लोग मर गए, कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं। पटवारी एग्जाम स्कैंडल में कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं। एमबीबीएस सीट बिकती है, कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं।
The toxic air is back in Delhi and the national capital region, and so is the politics of blame game. That's reached its peak. The Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP are fighting it out in the open, with the Delhi government blaming Diwali, the crackers, and BJP's politics for the rise in pollution levels. Is politics over pollution responsible for citizens suffering the way they are in and around Delhi, unable to breathe? The smog is back, and so is the politics around it. The air quality index in Delhi NCR is in hazardous territory after Diwali ended the respite from pollution provided by rains last week. The Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi is directly blaming the BJP and Diwali fireworks for the rise in pollution levels.
पहली बात यह है कि भाजपा के पास 3 सरकार है, वो प्रदूषण के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? ठीक है, दिल्ली सरकार तो दिन रात काम कर रही है और आगे भी करेगी, लेकिन केंद्र सरकार क्या कर रही है? काम तो छोड़िए, केंद्रीय पर्यावरण मंत्री का पता ही नहीं है कहाँ है, हरियाणा के पर्यावरण मंत्री का नहीं पता है कहाँ है, यूपी के पर्यावरण मंत्री क्या कर रहे हैं? भाजपा अपने 3 सरकारों का काम तो बताए लोगों को।
कभी ऑड इवन, कभी स्मोक टावर, वो भी 8 महीने से बंद था, कभी और किसी पर दोष डालना, हिंदुओं पर, दिवाली पर, यूपी पर, हरियाणा पर, केंद्र पर अपनी जिम्मेदारी से भाग जाना। अब बताइए सारे बुद्धिजीवी मिलकर कि आज AQI 450 तक क्यों जा रहा है और 2600 से ज्यादा पंजाब में पराली जल रही है अभी भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के प्रतिबंध लगाने के बाद, ये क्यों हो रहा है?
For nearly 7 years, the Delhi government has been levying an environmental compensation charge on all commercial vehicles entering the national capital territory. India today has learned that funds raised to fight pollution have largely remained untouched. After the rise in AQI levels, the Arvind Kejriwal government on Tuesday relaunched its water sprinkling campaign across the national capital.
दिल्ली प्रदूषण से बेहाल है और मेरे पीछे आप देखिए किस तरह से पानी का छिड़काव हवा में और सड़कों पर किया जा रहा है। और ये जो तकनीक है, ये तकनीक आपको बता दें कि दिल्ली के हर इलाके तक पहुंचाने की अब तैयारी कर ली गई है। हवा में जो धूल प्रदूषण मौजूद है उन्हें खत्म करने के लिए ये ट्रक रवाना किए जा रहे हैं।
अब हम देख रहे हैं कि जो हवा की स्थिति है वो ठहर गई है और जो पानी है वो उसका असर अब कम हो रहा है, जो बारिश का असर था। तो ऐसे में आज से 70 विधानसभा क्षेत्रों के लिए अलग अलग 70 जो है एंटी मोबाइल का जो स्मॉग गन है ये लॉन्च किया गया है। ठीक है, जो पूरे दिल्ली के अंदर 70 विधानसभा क्षेत्रों में सड़कों पे पानी का छिड़काव करेगा।
Meanwhile, stubble burning in parts of Punjab and Haryana continues to raise concern. The Punjab government has, however, washed its hands of pollution caused by farm fires.
पंजाब वाले इन्ना उस धुएं ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਤਾਂ ਹਵਾਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਪੀਡ ਵੀ ਬਾਹਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਕਿ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਧੂਆਂ ਗਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ। ਸਾਡਾ ਤਾਂ ਧੂਆਂ 5-7 ਦਿਨ ਹੀ ਹੈ, ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜੂ ਵੀ ਧੂਆਂ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਸੋਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ। ਦਿੱਲੀ 'ਚ ਤਾਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਧੂਆਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ।
The Congress has blamed the BJP governments in the centre, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana for the rising pollution.
दिल्ली में आज जनता को जो घुट घुट कर जीना पड़ रहा है, दम घोटू वातावरण है, तो इसके जिम्मेदार, इसके दोषी, इसके अपराधी भारतीय जनता पार्टी की केंद्रीय सरकार, उत्तर प्रदेश और हरियाणा की सरकार जहां पराली जल रही है। आम आदमी पार्टी की दिल्ली सरकार, कहाँ गया स्मॉक टावर, कहाँ गए प्रबंध, कहाँ गए बारिश जो आप आर्टिफिशियल करा रहे थे।
All this while, residents of Delhi and NCR continue to suffer amidst bickering by netas cutting across party lines. With Pankaj Jain and Piyush Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today. And let me now get you the latest in the Uttarkashi tunnel collapse rescue operations that have now entered day 3. Authorities have now called in the auger drilling machine. Now, this will install about 900 millimeters of steel pipe through the debris, and these pipes will then make passage for the trapped workers to come out safely. Rescue efforts continue. They've been battling for over 48 hours to save 40 workers who are trapped underground after a road tunnel digging project collapsed, bringing down tons of debris. Authorities say they've been using heavy earth excavators along with 2 ROC machines non-stop since the collapse occurred on Sunday morning. So the effort is to clear piles of concrete, muck and debris. Now the situation is very, very delicate at this stage. Every minute counts. Rescue efforts slowed down because of constant and compare, all that mud falling on the area, the gap that's been created. Authorities are literally standing in water and trying to ensure that this rescue operation continues. Uttarakhand government has constituted a 6-member expert panel to investigate what led to the Uttarkashi tunnel accident.
Rescue operations enters third day and the day has come to an end this evening. The latest update is that a railway track-like platform is being built by the authorities so that the auger drilling machine can work and can move up and down and has a platform channel to drill into the debris and so that it can hold and place the 900 mm steel pipes as well. So far, 40 workers which are trapped inside the tunnel are said to be safe and they are being delivered with food, water and necessary medicines on being asked. So as of now, this area has been cordoned off and has been sealed due to security purposes. We are showing you latest visuals where you can see police force being deployed here. We have ITBP, NDRF, and there are multiple agencies, including Pejal Nigam, who are working together to save 40 lives. The third day has come to an end, and the authorities are expecting another 24 to 30 hours. Once the auger machine starts to drilling into the debris, there will be more chances of getting across to the workers and getting them out safely.
One of the tallest icons of Indian hospitality industry is sadly no more. PRS Oboy, the man behind the Oboy group of hotels, passed away this morning. He was 94. He was a recipient of the Padma Vibhushan, the second highest civilian award in our country. PRS Oboy is credited with opening up several heritage properties across our country for the affluent traveller.
The passing of PRS Oboy marks the end of an era for the Indian hospitality industry. As the former chairperson of EIH Limited, the parent company of Oberoi Hotels, he's the man who changed the face of the hotel business in India, setting new standard for guest services in the industry. Affectionately known as Bicky, Oberoi was born in 1929 to Rai Bahadur Mohan Singh Oberoi, who founded East India Hotels in 1948. Educated at St. Paul's School in Darjeeling and later in the United Kingdom and Switzerland, he joined the business young and was instrumental in pioneering the development of Oberoi Hotels and Resorts. Some of the marquee properties include the Oberoi Amar Vilas in Agra, the Oberoi Uday Vilas on the banks of Lake Pichola in Udaipur, the Oberoi Raj Vilas in the Pink City of Jaipur, and the Oberoi Vanya Vilas on the border with Ranthambore National Park. Other iconic properties in the Oberoi banquet mentioned by Bicky Oberoi include the landmark Oberoi New Delhi, the sea-facing Oberoi Mumbai, the Oberoi Grand in Kolkata, and the beautiful Wildflower Hall in Shimla. The hotel chain also spread its wings abroad, building properties in Bali, Mauritius, Marrakesh, Medina, among others. PRS Oboy took over as the chairperson of the group in 2002 after the death of his father. He relinquished the post in May 2022 to his nephew Arjun Singh Oberoi. A month later, he took on the mantle of chairperson emeritus of the group. Oberoi was awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 2008 for his exceptional service to the country in fields of tourism and hospitality. He was conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award at International Luxury Travel Market in Cannes in December 2012. In November 2010, he was presented with the Corporate Hotelier of the World Award by the Hotels magazine. The 6th International Hotels Investment Forum in Berlin also honored him with the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award in March 2003. In February 2013, he was conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award for Management by the All India Management Association. Vicky Oberoi leaves behind a hospitality empire worth more than 14,000 crore rupees, with luxury brands such as Oberoi, Trident and Maidens. But more than that, he leaves behind a legacy of determination and hard work, setting new standard for impeccable hospitality in India. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.